more things, and the OST started becoming more orchestral. All of a sudden, Symphony of the Night, you got guitars and like it's stuff, and then it goes back to the classical thing. Do you guys think that maybe we should have kept the guitars and gone for a more modern look as the game evolved into a 3D, more modern game? Or should we try and stay classical like the GBA or the GBA games sound very, very medieval?
We can do both.
I agree. Yes. Both.
I think it heavily depends on the pacing of the game. If it's a very fast moving one, the guitars are probably more acceptable. If it's something where you're slower moving, the orchestra's probably better.
Yeah. Oh, and here's a Maria.
As long as you keep with kind of the rock opera rather than just a straight guitar riff, I think.
Yeah.
It depends on what. It depends on if it fits.
Yeah.
It's gotta fit. It's like with the scene.
It fits with the scene. I don't know. Personally, I think that the first time I heard the guitar in the Symphony of the Night at OST, I was like, is that a guitar? Do they have guitars in the medieval ages? Really? I felt like it didn't really fit. In the more modern games, the modern setting like Dawn of Sorrow, I could have expected it there, even though it was on the GBA. But it was a very weird thing. It's like if, in the movie A Knight's Tale, they have all like the rock songs and stuff. It's so unfitting. But that's like my personal opinion. I think movies or games set in the time era should always stick to the type of music, right?
It's tough because the soundtrack's so broad, right?
Yeah.
I feel like Bloody Tears was always meant to be played on a guitar.
Oh really?
But you're right. It's hard to keep a full game going at that same kind of pacing when it's so big and there's so much to it.
Yeah.
It's really interesting, just the evolution since they've had many different composers working on it. I mean, you've got the classic stuff that they've reimagined for a lot of the games. Going back, you've got Bloody Tears reimagined a ton of different ways for the series. And, the Vampire Killer theme and a bunch of others. I like seeing what other people can do with stuff. Like, I've always been a big fan of people doing covers of songs that are in a completely different genre. So I like seeing different ways you can do a lot of their themes.
Like Cradle of Filth did a Bloody Tears remix that everyone I've talked to about it thinks it's the official thing. Like, no, that's definitely not the official song.
It's actually not Cradle of Filth. They've had to deny it a bunch of times.
Oh, really?
It's something that just the internet misattributes to Cradle of Filth.
Wow, that's been going on for years then.
It's actually
My
just
God.
a couple of friends who did it, and just it got attributed to the British metal band Cradle of Filth.
Well, I have to say,
Cradle of Filth.
that's impressive for the internet, I guess.
Danny says he likes it, but he didn't do it.
He wishes he could have, right? Probably. If you guys had any questions or anything, just as like a mid-panel break.
Where do you think they're going next in Castlevania?
Well, I think they're going to keep going with Lords of Shadow, right? I mean, I think it did well. The people who didn't play Castlevania before really seemed to like it, which is always a shame. But I can only hope that they at least keep doing the handhelds. Like I said, HD was so expensive, I don't think it really got the appeal to make more side-scrollers on consoles. I'd like them to speak out a little bit. I'd like for them to at least announce the plans, but I feel like it's going, it's going full 3D, it's going God of War, it's not, going to be what we love about it.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of sad.
Yeah, me too. I'm totally there.
But games evolve and change and stuff. I mean, they can't all be Mega Man. Mega Man has that whole, okay, there's the classic games, but then we have all this stuff, and then you have, Star Force, Battle Network.
I am disappointed that with Lords of Shadow, it seems they are going to give up on the Igarashi canon. Since Igarashi is the person who took over the series and basically made everything fit into the same timeline.
Which is right here, apparently.
Yes.
The funny thing.
The only game that he retconned out of existence that was supposed to be in the main storyline was the Game Boy Color game Castlevania Legend.
With that Sonya Belmont, right?
Yes.
It never happened.
It's kind of disappointing. It highlights one of the things that I think is an interesting paradox within the series is, for most parts of the series, they very much marginalize any female character. Yet most of their people that, on their creative side, that everyone loves, is a female artist. The original soundtracks were done by a woman. In Symphony of the Night and a lot of the games around it, you had Ayumi Kojima's wondrous art. But every game, it's, you know, just the girliest girls ever.
And almost all of them die.
You know, they make extra point in Portrait of Ruin just to have the animation for one enemy vacuuming the skirt of the female
Yes,
character.
that was one of my favorite parts in that game. Pardon?
That was also in the Dawn and area of Sora.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah, the
When you steal her power, you use it to lift up her skirt.
I don't, what was it, Persephone?
Yes,
The Persephone enemies. I really did like that. Charlotte Allen is a great character though, because you go through and you have Symphony of the Night Maria, you know, not really counting her stronger selves, and then you have Mina who just kind of sits there and is like, I don't remember shit, and Sonya, who never happened, and then you have Charlotte, who's all, I'm a little girl, take me seriously, bitch, you know? And that's so great. And then you can play Estelle and Loretta, who I think, even though they are brainwashed and stuff, they are pretty powerful female characters in that game, even though they are, you know, oh, daddy this, daddy that. They were pretty cool.
What do you think of Shanoa?
Shanoa? I played most of Ecclesia because she had amnesia and she's all, oh, okay, pretty much everything. I didn't feel like there was enough story coming from her for the amount I played, which was, as I said earlier, like 90% of the game. So I couldn't really feel any connection or I couldn't really empathize with the character because there wasn't enough of her around her, right? It was just, most of the game was talking to other people.
And then just doing quests.
Yeah, those side quests within a side quest within a side quest. It's like Inception, the Castlevania game.
With Shanoa, I did find it really disappointing because, you know, when you first see the trailer, it's like, wait, we're getting a Final Fantasy game with a strong female character. Then you do the story, and she's totally defined by her relationship to the two other men in the game, and has almost no character beyond how she interacts with them.
Yeah.
And both men die.
Yeah.
By your hand.
It was kind of like, it was almost reminiscent of Zelda games with the silent protagonist and everything you know about that character, anything the character's saying, you judge by the other people's reactions. And that was the same thing with kind of Shanoa, so everybody else made her who she was, but she still wasn't even that much very interesting. She had a lot of potential, but I think it was kind of wasted by making her lose her memory.
Small spoilers, what I did like about Ecclesia was once you do all of the side quests, you realize you've been helping out, you know, the lost Belmont mine.
Oh, I didn't get that far. I feel like I got that now.
I'm still at the very beginning of Dracula's castle. I just killed the Woolman. I just killed the Woolman a few days ago.
Okay.
It's a shame too, because she really needed it, right? It's like you said, there is no Belmont, like, you know, unless it happens later on, right? There is nothing that ties you to the old game. There's no characters, like even, you think of throwing as many Belmonts as you want, and you kind of can identify with them right away because, oh, it's a Belmont, I know where it is,
Yeah.
right? But Shanoa had nothing.
I mean,
You really needed it.
I'd love to see them go back and do like a 2D game and get a Julius game maybe.
Yeah. Well, that's what everyone wants, right? We need that. We need that last fight.
Like, we need to know what the hell was Julius doing while he was amnesiac. He was stuck in Dracula's castle.
Right, yeah. We need to know how he killed Dracula.
That's what we
The events leading up to it, yeah.
One thing I'd like to bring up is, you know, they've done a lot of things with the franchise. Want to know what everyone out here thought was the worst thing that's happened to the franchise, since there are a lot of things you can point to.
Everyone thinks Judgment or Look at the Shadow, just put up your hand so we can skip everyone having to say it.
I mean, I don't know how many of you have played the N64 Castlevania games.
Terrible.
If you haven't, don't ever.
Castlevania.
Let's put it this way: when the microplay in front of my house closed, They refused to sell that game because it was so boring.
That game's expensive though, right? Because especially the second one, especially Legacy of Darkness, it's hard to find it for cheap. It's really climbed up there because no one wanted it at first, right? There was never a second run or anything, as far as I know.
It's N64 3D gaming that was poorly optimized for the N64. So you're walking at the slowest speed possible, and you're dealing with guys on motorcycles.
What?
Oh, speaking of the really bad-looking jumping that you mentioned earlier, you need to see 64.
Okay,
And the camera angles.
The camera angles. That's one of the big problems with 3D games, as I mentioned earlier, is the camera angles. I would rather see straight on, because then anything that can be discovered, it is there. And it's not, I gotta look through everything. It's what doesn't stick out and what does stick out. It's more fun to find things in a 2D environment than a 3D, because after a 3D environment, you're like, fuck, I just want